I just got out of a meeting with some lawyers here in Kyrgyzstan. The things that you will learn from Kyrgyz lawyers are honestly very interesting, and they're more open than lawyers in the West. Here's exactly what I learned from lawyers here in Kyrgyzstan and why, when investing in Kyrgyzstan and Central Asia more broadly, it's very important to consult with lawyers, as they are not in the Western mentality of transactional values. Hello and welcome back to the Troubling Reports. Today we're going over some of the lessons I learned from lawyers here in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, and additionally I will go over all of the information that they provided to me. Now, some of the things I have to keep confidential, some of the things I'm under NDA for, and so some of it I will have to redact and or completely cut out. But there's a lot to go over here in Kyrgyzstan, where the investment landscape is very quickly changing. The place and time in which the apparent motives here in Kyrgyzstan for investment are inherently growing. And while I have said that there's a lot of potential in Central Asia, I think there are two countries that I find to be the most potential, and those are, of course, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Now, I have taken some contrarian bets here in Central Asia, as honestly a lot of the risks associated with Tajikistan are overplayed. However, looking into specifically what I learned from Kyrgyz lawyers, let's get into it. So, the first thing I wanted to go over was the taxes. Taxes in Kyrgyzstan have been simplified, and the headline corporate tax rate is likely not what you're paying. If you are a generalist company, it is 4% of gross profits. If you are an IT company, it drops down to 1%, or of net profits, they weren't sure. One thing you'll notice about Kyrgyzstan is people are very happy to give you information. People are very happy to talk about Kyrgyzstan, because really there's been a push for foreign investment in the last few years, and especially starting in 2024 and 2025, they are looking more and more at Western investors, and particularly Europeans and Americans. Now, the law firm that I was working with, which I'll have to redact their name if I ever say it, as right now I do not have a partnership agreement with them, and I value their discretion, as well as I value information they find to be proprietary, until, of course, we create a meaningful partnership. But the law firm that I dealt with actually works with the US Embassy and with the American Chamber of Commerce. Now, I am dealing with an American investor, who is looking at investing in Kyrgyzstan. That's why I created the meeting with this law firm. And they weren't able to provide me prices right away. They wanted to deliberate over all of the things that I had said, and I obviously am looking at facilitating quite a lot here in Kyrgyzstan, so they had a lot of things to go over, but my guess is it's going to be a fraction of the West. Even Eastern European law firms would likely charge more than Kyrgyz law firms, though, to be quite frank, I'd hope so. However, looking at the totality of the investment landscape from their perspective, mining is extremely interesting from their perspective, as well as agriculture. They also seemingly really enjoy IT, and especially within banking. However, their banking regulations are strict. However, that said, buying outs and leveraged buyouts of banks are normalized. And so what you get in Kyrgyzstan, what you get as a result of this push for foreign direct investment is a landscape of high levels of desirability for foreign capital. And they often said something that interested me quite a bit. They were constantly saying that foreigners are often seen as more to be protected more than Kyrgyz nationals. Now, this isn't to say that they'll allow you to do whatever you want. They were very quick to point out that you do have to have audits in certain industries. You do have to follow regulations, which in Central Asia, I don't doubt that. However, they've said that, especially with public-private partnerships here in Kyrgyzstan, you are looking at being able to spend time managing your company from wherever you are in the world. And of course, if you are somewhere in the world and you want to invest in Kyrgyzstan, I can facilitate that through them. We're not formal partners yet. I hope to get that deal going where obviously I can bring them clients, as I'm sure all of you are looking for that potential. However, being that Kyrgyzstan is a very interesting climate from their view, and from my view as well, I think that realistically moving forward, I will be looking more at the totality of the interests and the opportunities here. Of course, Bishkek is a very large city and there's a lot to talk about. So if you're interested in perhaps learning if Bishkek would be your ideal jurisdiction, look down in the description below, fill out the Google Forms link, decide whether or not my quote is good enough for you, as of course I will provide you with a quote for the jurisdictional one-pager starting on December 1st. To get consulting services, you must get a jurisdictional one-pager as a result of consulting services. Though, of course, as I've said in prior videos, the deadline for said services will not impact current clients. So if you had consulting prior, you do not have to get a jurisdictional one-pager. Though this doesn't include people who have not yet paid. So the cutoff is again on December 1st, as I am getting increased interest from people and I cannot keep up with it. That said, if you like this video, feel free to like it. If you really like this video, feel free to share it with your friends. If you are looking for a way to join me on this journey of internationalization and globalization, feel free to subscribe to the channel. This has been the Traveling Report, signing off.